RIP to the shorts in crypto right now. Crypto is racing up. Bitcoin's up 15% in 24 hours and really leading the way. There are still investors that are short crypto. There's a big investor in crypto that just said that they were still short and they're going to stay short. So I want to talk about that, talk about whether now is a good time to be buying, tell you exactly what I've bought recently and what I've sold. I also want to talk about what's happening in the market because the banks are changing their tune a lot. I'm not talking about the price of their stocks or anything like that, or anything to do really with the last couple of days, but what they're expecting from the Fed has been changing. I also want to talk about some other huge things that have happened in the market over the last few hours. If you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, that really helps me out. That helps you out too, so that way you can see the future videos just like this. Also, turn on that bell notification so you know right when I post a video, because some of it is time sensitive. Now, if you want to know exactly what I'm buying in real time, you can check out the link to the Patreon. We've had a lot of people join recently. Part of that was because I did say I'd sell a lot of USDC before it broke peg, just because of some of the risks that they had having some money at SVB. But if you don't join the Patreon, still hit subscribe, because I'm going to be telling you in this video what I've been buying the last day. A few days. So Bitcoin's looking really good. Like I said, Bitcoin's up 15% in the last 24 hours, really leading the way here. And when you look at the last 7 days, it's still up. Now, keep in mind, it has been a crazy time for crypto over the last week. Stocks and crypto shed $2 trillion in value. New York attorney labels ETH a security. KuCoin hit with lawsuit. Silicon Valley Bank crash. Huobi flash crash. Biden proposes a new tax on Bitcoin mining. Voyager was liquidating assets. That was all happening in the last week. We also had the second biggest bank collapse in U.S. history, the third largest bank collapse in U.S. history. USDC fell because Circle had some of the reserves on one of those banks and fell down to 90 cents, 88 cents on the dollar. So all that has been happening, and the market's up. Look, the Nasdaq's up 1.12%. Crypto, like I said, is up pretty significantly. Some of these stocks that are typically not very volatile, like banks, are being halted all over the place. There have been a lot of banks that have been halted here today. And that's at the same time that people are really seeing that they need probably some exposure to Bitcoin. Now, because of the banking collapse, it's made investors price in the fact that the Fed might not be able to continue to raise rates. That's the thought process right now. You can see that because last week we had a drop from 5.06 on the 2-year to 4.97. And then a day later, we had a drop from 4.9 down to 4.65. Then we had another drop here today, and we're at 4.05 right now. So we've fallen 1 percentage point in 3 trading days. So this has been a crazy repricing. Now, the stock market still is not doing all that well. I mean, it's up 1%, but if we had seen this at any other time besides when there's a massive bank collapse, the markets would be racing even more than that. A repricing like this would send the market up probably 5, 10, 15% normally, but part of it is that people are worried, right? The Fed is now thought to just raise 25 basis points, but now there's even a 35% chance that they won't raise anything. And this is going to happen in a week and a few days. We're going to get that next Fed meeting where they tell us what they're going to raise rates by. A lot of this will be influenced by CPI because that is coming tomorrow. But some banks are saying that they no longer expect the Fed to hike rates at all. Goldman Sachs said that. Another bank that I saw earlier said that as well. And we are expecting CPI to come in, decently high, 0.4%, and core CPI to be at 0.4% too, which, that's not at their 2% run rate. We also have PPI the next day, so we'll look at that as well. On Wednesday, we have that coming out at 8:30, the same time as the CPI comes out Tuesday. But that's really going to influence the Fed. Now, the Fed's in a tough place because inflation isn't all the way gone. If they start lowering rates or if they even just stop hiking rates, that could cause more inflation. And they don't want anything to collapse, but also they need to continue to raise rates in a lot of people's minds. Now, other people are saying, no, a lot of the CPI is delayed, so we'll continue to see inflation trickle down. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if they raised by 25 basis points one or two more times. Took it really cautiously going into those meetings and talking about it as well, saying that they are still raising rates or something like that, but that they are looking at the banking collapse and they don't want to cause more stress on markets. So they are talking about maybe easing Fed hikes to see where inflation goes after that. I could see them saying something like that, but we'll have to see. I would expect, though, if this happens, the markets would rally. Now, I think it's going to be mixed because some people will say, well, this means that there's going to be more inflation towards the end of the year, and then they'll have to continue raising rates, and it could crush the economy. So we'll have to be careful because just because they're going to start tapering off, if they do end up tapering off rate hikes, doesn't necessarily mean the markets will just rally as in the same way as if CPI was coming down more aggressively, they would rally, right? This is not how we want it to go, but this might be what actually happens. Now, like I said, we have a couple big events in the next 2 days, so the next 48 hours are huge for crypto and for the stock market. Now, there are still some investors that are shorting or just out of the market completely. For example, Il Capo of Crypto famously said on November 19, the more he looks at the charts, the clearer I see the capitulation that's coming. Just a matter of time. Patience is key. Famously going short around that time. Now, since then, the market's up significantly. Bitcoin was around 16,000 then, now up at 24,400. So even if they didn't short on leverage, even if they just shorted at 1x, still down significantly from that point. Now, I would be very careful of shorting right now because, we could have a face-ripping rally, especially with everything that's unfolding. If CPI comes in low, it could destroy all the shorts and cause another short squeeze. That's what we're seeing here today because 2 days ago, Bitcoin was at under 20,000. Now we're over 20% up from that point, up maybe 23, 24%. So I would be very careful of being short. Now, Il Capo of Crypto just tweeted as well that they're still short. I think they deleted that tweet because I can't find it anywhere now, but I saw it earlier today. I would not be short. Now, I also wouldn't necessarily go aggressively long at this point. This is a very quick move. I wouldn't be surprised to see us cool down a little bit. We moved up so quickly, but we also did hit a very key point as well. We hit the 200-day moving average, which was pretty key. We hit 19,700. Just barely went below it, and we bounced right off of it. And this is at the same time that all the banking stuff is happening, really showing the benefits of Bitcoin. So I would just be careful. I did something recently, I'll tell you in a second, but Ethereum also is looking pretty good. I mean, when you look, we're close to where we were just a few weeks ago when we were rallying. Ethereum, same way. Now, a lot of alts aren't in the same place. Like Matic, for example, is around $1.20. It was at $1.50 or something like that recently, $1.40. Now, there are still lots of liquidations coming in over the last 24 hours, 310 million liquidated. Not so much in the last few hours. The market's calmed down a little bit from that rally earlier this morning where Bitcoin moved up to 24,000. But one thing I thought was really interesting is the Digital Asset Fund Flows weekly report. Now, I read this every week, but this was a crazy week. They saw the largest outflows ever, totaling 255 million, largest single weekly outflows on record. And it was 1% of total assets under management. Keep in mind, we did have a lot of crazy stuff happening last week, like I said. So a lot of people probably just taking some risk off the table, but most of it was coming out of Bitcoin, 243.5 million. Now, maybe some of this rally, along with CZ buying a lot of Bitcoin and Ethereum and a lot of other investors doing that as well. But part of this rally might be because there was so much money flowing out and now they're realizing, hey, we shouldn't have decreased our exposure. Now money might be flowing in. I would not be surprised to see one of the largest inflows that we've seen in a long time. But these investors are now covering their butts, I think, because they decreased exposure right before a big rally. So if you stayed in crypto, well, congrats to you because you are smarter than some of these investors. Now, Microsoft is also releasing ChatGPT 4 next week. Now, I'll tell you what I did with crypto, what I'm looking at here in a second, and what I did with another holding that I added to or actually bought for the first time here today. But first, I just want to cover this because this is pretty big and it's happening next week. No one's going to really talk about it, I think, because of all the drama that's happening. But ChatGPT 3 is text-to-text. That's what we have now. ChatGPT 4 will be text-to-text, video, and audio. So you can text it or you can write something and it can give you text. It can create video. It can create audio. Think about that. If you said, hey, make me a song about water or something. I'm just looking at my water here, coming up with something off the top of my head, but it could make a song like that, or talk about a banking collapse and how Bitcoin is the only survivor or something like that. And this will also have quicker responses as well. So this will be something to pay attention to next week. It could be really cool and could cause Microsoft to go up if it goes well. Obviously, if it doesn't go well, it could cause Microsoft to sell off a little bit. But keep in mind, this is a very small investment for Microsoft. It's what, 100th of their market cap? Not even that. It's 1/200th of their market cap, that $10 billion they put in. But that will be something that I'll be paying attention to next week. Now, Bitcoin dominance is moving up quickly. We're at 45%. Now, part of this has been fueled by the fact that we have had a lot of money drain out of stablecoins between BUSD and USDC recently. Part of it is just because Bitcoin's up a lot and alts are actually lagging for the first time in a while. Bitcoin is up more than most alts, at least in the top 15. Now, there are some that are up, 60%, like Conflux. Synthetics is up 35%, Optimism up 30%. But the majority of cryptos are up less than Bitcoin right now. And you can see Bitcoin's actually up 15% while the whole market's up 10% in the last 24 hours. So Bitcoin's really leading the way here for a couple different reasons. Now, the last time that we saw Bitcoin at 45% dominance, we did actually see a little bit of resistance right around this level. But then after about a week or two, it pushed all the way up to 48.5%. So pay attention to this level. If we start breaking higher, could be interesting. Personally, I have about 75 to 80% of my crypto in Bitcoin specifically. And I feel pretty confident in it right now, especially with it at this point, at this 45% level. I think we still could run further if these altcoins start selling off, if we have CPI coming hot or the Fed's more hawkish than we expect, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised to see some altcoins bleed into Bitcoin, especially with some of the stuff that came out last week with Ethereum being labeled a security or being thought of as a security. And if Ethereum's a security, a lot of other altcoins, well, pretty much all other altcoins will be a security as well. Could cause Bitcoin dominance to go up, and maybe that's when you swoop in to buy some alts. Now, like I said, I would not be going aggressively short or aggressively long before CPI tomorrow, especially with everything that's happening with banks too. There's so much leverage and open interest right now. I'd be very careful. Now, with that in mind, I did buy a couple different things recently. First of all, I did buy Bitcoin a few days ago when it was right around 20,000. And at that point, it's crazy how it happens, right? We go from 25,000 down to 20,000, and I bought a little around 20,600 or something. It fell down. It fell down actually before I bought. It went to 19.7. Then I bought a little bit on the way up actually, and I thought, man, I should have just bought. I should have bought a few minutes ago, or maybe it's even gonna fall down from here, and then I'm gonna feel like an idiot that I didn't just wait longer. And yet now we're up 20% from there. So just keep in mind that even if you buy at a slightly bad time or you feel like maybe you could have timed it a little bit better, right? Over long term, you're probably going to be fine, at least if you're right on your thesis about whatever asset you're buying. It is important to get it at a good price, but keep in mind, Bitcoin being up or down 5-10%, it won't really matter in the long term if we're thinking a few years. Now, another asset that I bought was actually a bank stock. I know, kind of crazy. I talk about crypto for the most part on this channel, but I do hold a good amount of equity in stocks, a good amount of money in stocks, and it was such an attractive price. It's actually, it's a stock that I've held before, and it was such an attractive price. It's a very slow-moving bank. It's a regional bank, so it was down a lot. It actually went down to negative 50% here today. I bought it after it swung up a little bit. I'm about even on it now, but it has over a 6% dividend yield. It is, it's only a 30% payout ratio. It's a slow-moving bank, so it's not really growing that much. It has an older clientele. They don't pay much on deposits as of now, but people still like them because they've been using them for a long time. It's really popular around me, but I bought them just because it seems like a pretty good value when there's this much blood to be buying a bank stock like that. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and buy bank stocks or anything like that. I told the Patreon that when I was buying it that it was really risky for the short term, but long term, I think they'll be fine. They have a very good balance sheet. So I bought that here today. Let me know if you've bought any bank stocks down below in the comment section. And I don't really like bank stocks, to be honest, for the most part, but this was just, I think, a pretty good deal. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to know exactly what bank that was, I don't want to really say it because it is a smaller bank, but if you want to know, you can go to my Patreon. Otherwise, let me know in the comment section if you really want me to talk about it, and maybe I will. Thank you so much.